How does our counselling help people with a life-limiting condition, and what can you talk to our counsellors about? Hello, I'm Catherine Lightbourne. In this fourth episode of our Treetops Hospice podcast, I'm talking to Sarah Cundill, our Deputy Therapeutic Services Manager. Sarah is answering questions about our counselling service for people who've been diagnosed with a life-limiting illness and how this can help. If you would like more information about how we can help you or a loved one, head to treetops.org.uk, and please don't forget to share this podcast with others. Sarah, tell me a little bit about what you do here at Treetops.
I work with children, young people and adults who either have been bereaved or who perhaps themselves are affected by a life-limiting illness, or some of their family members, someone in their family is.
Can you tell me a little bit generally about the counselling that we have for people with a life-limiting illness or a condition?
Yeah, so we offer one-to-one counselling for people, adults who have a life-limiting illness and their family who might need some support. We do see people when they're newly diagnosed. We also see people further along in their condition who may be finding things particularly challenging, or perhaps something's changed for them around their treatment or diagnosis, and they need some space to reflect on that. And then we also see people closer to the end of their lives, and they perhaps want to think about that particular point in time, their relationships, look back on their life, and think about what a good death might look like for them as well.
What sort of conditions do some of our clients have?
We have four major sort of groups that tend to refer into us. So people with stage 4 cancer, people with neurological conditions, people with pulmonary conditions, and people with conditions affecting their lungs and breathing.
What sort of things do clients want to talk about in the counselling? You've touched on this a little bit.
Well, it can be a range of things really. So it could be the initial diagnosis and making sense of the implications of that for them and perhaps the families or key relationships. It could be managing the here and now if the illness has particular presentations in their body that they find difficult to cope with. It could be managing the logistics of changes happening for them, practicalities of living with limitations around their condition. Could also be thinking about what a good death looks like for them, or exploring their relationships towards the end of life and making sure that things aren't left unsaid that they'd like to be able to say to your loved ones.
Tell me a little bit about what people often experience emotionally when they're diagnosed with a life-limiting condition, because obviously that's something that not many of our listeners might understand or relate to.
So it can be a range of emotions, really. It obviously, shock may be a big thing initially. There might be an awful lot of sadness around, and some anger, some frustration, some particular questions, why me, why now? And for some people it might also be a feeling of relief because they've been in pain, or they've been suffering for a while without an accurate diagnosis, or without really knowing what's going on for them, or living under some uncertainty as to what might be happening in their bodies, and so the diagnosis brings sort of an end to that period. It can feel really overwhelming to have that kind of diagnosis clearly, and it feels like something is happening to them and they have no control over it. So I guess counselling can support client to take back a little bit of that control through looking at their choices, what's available to them, and just thinking about their own feelings, helping to manage those better, and decision making as well. Counselling can be a space where they can think about what's important to them in their care and what's needed through the choices that they need to make. So it can bring back some sense of control at different points along the way.
And what impact do you think our counselling has on our client, and also how does that help family and friends?
I mean, I guess it can help to bring a sense of peace to someone's situation, that they've had space to explore what's going on for them emotionally and in their thoughts and feelings, and give that space to prepare for their death and what the future holds for them, or to help support them coping through the middle phase of their illness. Just a chance to reflect on what's important to them as well, I guess.
How do we support sort of family members or carers of our clients?
Sometimes the person that comes to us for counselling is the person with the condition themselves, but often it can also be someone who lives with them or their children, particularly for those who are involved in the care of someone with a life-limiting condition. It can be an incredibly difficult and challenging time, and so having a space to talk about that's separate, confidential, can support them to renew their resources, if you like, and to keep going and keep being there for their loved one. And then in terms of the children, sometimes families need some support around how to have difficult conversations with the children, and how to help them know what's going on in an age appropriate way. We can offer some support with that, and then work with the children to help them explore their thoughts and feelings around having a loved one who's poorly as well.
Do you think the counselling that we can offer clients has a kind of spillover into their family and friends and their personal life?
Yeah, I guess it helps to share the burden for family and friends, helps the family and friends to know that their loved one is being supported in this way, and it's something that they choose. It can help relationships in terms of giving the person with the condition an outlet for their emotions, and that can improve communication at home potentially, and just overall to help us sort of introduce a sense of control for that person and a sense of order in their thoughts and feelings.
Why do you think some people might find it easier to talk to a counsellor perhaps than their own family and friends about their diagnosis or their condition?
I guess because we're not connected to the family personally, so it can be difficult to share with your closest loved ones what's going on, because you want to protect them and you don't want to add to their suffering, and also because perhaps you're not used to having those kinds of conversations, and it's not how your relationships work. So to have someone neutral, a safe space where you can talk about these things, or perhaps rehearse conversations that you want to have with family and friends, or ways of explaining things, can be really helpful. And it's totally confidential, so it's not something that is going to get back to anyone you know, other than within your control.
Can clients come back to us for counselling as their diagnosis progresses?
Yes. So we offer 12 sessions of counselling, or up to 12 initially, and clients can come back to us if something changes in the diagnosis or their condition. We like to have an open door policy for clients to support them through the time that they're ill.
So for someone who's listening who thinks they might need support or knows somebody who needs support, what can they do?
Give us a ring to our office at the hospice, and we'll talk them through how to refer into us, and just talk to them about some of their concerns, and whether we're the right service for them and this is the right time for them, and we will see what we can do to help.